So what I've got here is I've combined my model together. The parts in red or pink here are UVs that are overlapping, so they're ones where I just want to create just a straight duplicate, where I want to be able to texture one side and have it appear on the other side. The other ones are more unique. These are ones that I want to maybe do something a bit different with. So what I need to do is I just want to color these straight off so that I know, maybe make the hands red and the legs blue and stuff like that. And what I can do is I can take this and create a snapshot, or what's called a UV snapshot. So if I go to polygons and I go to UV snapshot, in there I can set the size of my texture and just press OK, and it will save out in project's default and images a UV snapshot of my image, which is usually an IF file. If I open that up in Photoshop, it's actually held as a transparency. What I normally do is duplicate things a couple of times and then merge them together and then just create a white background, and now I've got a snapshot of my full character. In here it means that I can just very quickly go in and paint the different parts in, so that everything's the right colour from when I start. So if I just quickly paint these different sections, so what I've done is I've taken the parts of the model that are mainly the kind of metal. I've sort of differentiated the joints from the other parts, so the chest, the arms, like the forearm, the upper arm, I've made those yellow, and then the joints I've generally made blue, and then the face and the head I've made this sort of dark colour. In fact, what I might do is just change that slightly, make it a bit grayer, knock some saturation out of that one. I've loaded it into Maya, so I've created a material which is this blend here, and if I then apply this to the character, because I've already observed where his UVs are and where they relate to the different parts of his body, and I've used the UV snapshot to lay that out, so I know that's where his face is. I made that dark grey, top of his head. The yellow parts are sort of torso, upper arm, lower arm, and the blue parts are the joints. When I then apply this in Maya, what should happen is he's laid out there, so I've got most of his parts in the right place. Got one or two mistakes because I've got maybe a yellow spot there, and I've also got a joint there which should be blue and is actually yellow, but you can see how it's been laid out. And what this means is, before I start painting, which is what I'm going to be doing in a second, it means that I have most of the parts where I need them to be. So now if I do some painting, if I go to modeling and if I go to rendering, texture, 3D paint tool, and I'm just going to double click on this, and I want symmetry. So I do want some symmetry, but I want it in the right place. So now what will happen is I can paint directly onto this guy, and I can sort of paint lines in and things. So I hold down B, I can take that down pretty small, and I can go, so start painting in there. So if I want to create a sort of exoskeleton look to it, I can start painting directly onto there, and you can see how it's appearing in the UVs there. The other thing is, even if I have symmetry turned off, so if I turn off reflection, if I paint onto this section here, it will also appear on this section over here, and that's because it's using the same UV space here. So I can use reflection. It means that if I want to like draw, I don't know, a number onto there, number 6 onto this side, because this doesn't share the same UV space, this hasn't been doubled over like this has. So this forearm here and this forearm here share the same UV space. The UVs for this section here and the UVs for this section are laid over the top of each other. This is why it's got that pink colour to it, whereas this section isn't. I've turned off symmetry, which means I can write here and I can write on there, and it'll only paint on one side. So if I wanted to make this side unique, I can do that. Whereas the arms, there's nothing particularly unique about it. I don't need them to be different, so I'm going to have them share the same UV space. So you can decide when you're doing it which parts you want, which UVs you want duplicated, or which parts you want to share the same UV space, and which parts might be unique. So for the chest, for instance, I might have a badge on the left hand side, on the right hand side here, and some numbers on the left. That means the UV space for this has to be laid out like this, so I can paint or texture one side and texture the other side differently. Same with the face. If I wanted a scar on this side of the face, I would have to lay them out like I've done here. But that's pretty much it. I mean, you can just go into this and now start painting it up, adding details and textures in Photoshop.